القول فيتبعون أحسنه. اللهم اجعل أعمالنا خالصة لوجهك ولا تجعل فيها حظا لغيرك يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك آمين. فالسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله
وعليكم
وبركاته.
السلام ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
ما شاء الله. How's everyone? Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah. Welcome back. I always have much admiration whenever I come to the part-time classes or the night classes, for the people that come to these classes. And especially when they come week after week, I think it's very amazing to me. You know, that being able to take out this time and committing a Sunday morning, it's a big thing in the greater scope of things. And because a lot of things happen on a Sunday as well, you know, so you always just have to say, you know what, I'm going to be unavailable. Or maybe you take off class because you don't have that much events. But also just the effort of waking up and coming to the class, and even in the night classes, you know, after a long day of work, you still clock in and you sit in the class and you have to give like some mental energy also. I mean, you're not just sitting here to listen to some talk of encouragement, but there's enrichment, there's learning, there's effort behind all of this. So may Allah reward the students before. And you know, there's always value in coming to the class. I always stress this, that you know, sometimes before you can even get any benefit from, you know, listening to the words that might be said in the class, just the mere journeying to the class, there's a reward for that, you know, that by the time the person, they sit out and they leave their house, they leave the door, the malaika spread their wings open, and then the creation start making istighfar for that person, and they going in search of knowledge. And on top of that, you come into do it in the masjid, and there's a reward for that as well. Some hadith come, it's better to learn one chapter of deen. And the scholars will differ, what do they mean by one chapter of deen? But you can say like one piece of understanding of the religion, it's better to learn that than to make 1,000 rak'ahs. And it would be very difficult for us to stand here and make 1,000 rak'at. But nonetheless, that reward is there. So all of this mustn't be like lost on us. And we almost like have to remind ourselves. And I think it's easier for the students to remind themselves than the teachers. Because we kind of just, for me, I'm very impressed with this because I'm not here every week. Now just Mullah Khalil has been a bit, had some other tasks, and so I'm just here like to fill the time. So one of them have been doing this for like a better part of 10 years. And them also to come every Sunday, it's subhanallah. May Allah put benefit in all of this and write it in our scale of good deeds, and cause us to take effect from this process that is here. And regardless of who the teachers will be, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a system outside of that. And there's no doubt, you know, there's barakat in being with the pious, but at the end of the day, regardless of the conditions that is extraneous to yourself, and Allah looks at your effort, no, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to deprive you of guidance because of the weakness of the teacher. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give you according to the talab that you have as a student, the desire that you have as a student. And the same, you know, that goes to learning in the same way that it goes to spirituality. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala won't deprive you because of what you don't have. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you according to what you make of what you have. Now, So we will continue reading again, inshallah, from Qisas al-Nabiyyin. And I believe we're reading now at من التماثيل إلى الأصنام. من التماثيل إلى الأصنام. So let us read through the lesson and then we come back to translate it. This is me. Suwar al-Salihin. Suwar al-Salihin. Okay. Exactly. خير. سور الصالحين. قال الشيطان فكيف حزنهم عليهم قالوا شديد قال وكيف اشتياقهم إليهم قالوا عظيم قال ولماذا لا تنظرون إليهم كل يوم قالوا وكيف السبيل إلى ذلك وقد ماتوا قال اعملوا لهم صورا وانظروا إليها كل صباح وأعجب الناس برأي إبليس وصوروا الصالحين وكانوا ينظرون إلى هذه الصور كل يوم وإذا رأوها ذكروا أولئك الصالحين. نعم. So this is a continuation of what had come before of Hilatul Shaitan, right? And what we had read the last time was كانت للشيطان حيلة. Shaitan had this حيلة, this plot, this loophole that he wanted to take advantage of, right? So he says that Shaitan saw that they had admiration for a certain group of people that were attributed or described or known for piety, and he thought that this might be the way in. So let us see what he says. Suwar al-Salihin. Suwar al-Salihin means pictures, right? Pictures. The pictures of the pious, or you could even, because of the time that it exists in, you could even say portraits, right? Because my imagination would be that it would be closer to portraits than pictures, right? But all the same. قال الشيطان فكيف حزنكم عليهم قال الشيطان فكيف حزنكم عليهم. We'll translate this first.
How was your sadness upon them?
How's your sadness upon them?
Sorrow for them.
How's your sorrow for them? And everyone translated in this way? Grief. Grief, yes. How's your grief for them? فكيف حزنكم عليهم. نعم. قالوا شديد. That's it? Severe. Severe. أي حزننا عليهم شديد. حزننا عليهم شديد. That's what I mean. قال وكيف اشتياقكم إليهم. وكيف اشتياقكم إليهم. One from the side. How's you? How's your yearning? How's your longing? Your desire? No, all correct, right? So the common word that's used over here is that mushtaq. Ana mushtaqun. That means like you miss something. You miss something, you desire something. Mushtaqun ilay. And this word ishtiyaq or mushtaq is normally used when there's like some type of relationship, and then there's a longing because of absence. So he says, and how's your longing for them? How's your desire for them? Qalu azim. I said great, right? It's immense. It's immense. قال وَلِمَاذَا لَا تَنْظُرُونَ إِلَيْهِمْ كُلَّ يَوْمٍ. What are they saying over here? Someone from the online?
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalam. Rahmatullah.
Why do you not look at them daily?
Why do you not look at them daily, right?
Every day.
or every day. كل يوم daily or every day, both correct. قالوا وكيف السبيل إذا لا وكيف السبيل إذا إلى ذلك وقد ماتوا. What are they saying over here?
What is the way to this, or the path to this, when certainly they have died?
What is the way to this when certainly they have died? Anyone else? How is this possible? Okay, that's very figurative, because possible is more like mumkin. So yeah, they're not questioning its possibility. They're questioning like missing out. Oh, okay, but how will we do it? So what is the way to that whilst they have doubt? You can translate that wow there's wow haliya, right? Whilst. And qad, obviously qad comes for different meanings. Qad can come for tahqiq, right? So over here, this is qad li tahqiq, when it enters upon the past tense verb to say that it actually happened. You can get the qad also for what do you call that? Ta'keed. It can come also to emphasize, right? So here, this qad here is qad li tahqiq, like because it already happened. When the qad enters upon the present tense verb, there's also two meanings. I forget the second. One of them is like it means sometimes. And you get one of them means sometimes, and one of them means possibly. So when it enters on, I can't remember how the Arabic goes. When it enters upon the present tense verb, sometimes it can mean from time to time, and at other times it can mean possibly. No. So you say, قد يفعل ذلك. He might do that. You know, and you say, قد يفعل ذلك. Like, sometimes he does that. Right? قال. You generally you don't have to translate this qad. But if you wanted to translate every word, you could translate qad as certainly. But it's not. It wouldn't really be for ta'keed. It would be for tahqiq. It wouldn't really be for emphasis over here. Yeah, it would be for like the qad these days to tell you that it actually happened. It happened such. قال اعملوا لهم صورا وانظروا إليها كل صباح. What's he saying over here? Make for them images and look towards it every morning. Yes. Anyone translate it differently? Now, make for them images and look towards it every morning. Meaning, make portraits of them and look at those every morning. وأعجب الناس برأي إبليس وصوروا الصالحين. Let's start with that. وأعجب الناس برأي إبليس وصوروا الصالحين. People are amazed by this idea of Iblis. And they made portraits or pictures of the pious. وكانوا ينظرون إلى هذه الصور. Someone else? We don't know that it's men. Yeah, that most likely it is, but we don't know that it's just men.
I went with it because it's a sound masculine.
So you know that the masculine is used to incorporate a group as well, and that group can consist of females as well, right? So the fact that it's a sound masculine plural doesn't definitively tell us that there's no females involved, which is no, it is what it is, right? So you could say the pious men, but it would be better to just say the pious ones. Right, because when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about أيها الذين آمنوا. Strictly speaking, that's you many males, isn't it so? But we know that it doesn't refer restrictively to the males. وكانوا ينظرون إلى هذه الصور كل يوم. Someone translate this first. And they used to look at these portraits every day. وإذا رأوها ذكروا أولئك الصالحين. وإذا رأوها ذكروا أولئك الصالحين. When they saw it, what is it over here? The portraits. ذكروا أولئك الصالحين. They remembered these pious. So you can see over here there's a separation between the pictures and the people. This is إذا رأوها, when they see the portraits, they remember the pious. They don't look at the portraits and see the pious. When they look at the portraits, they remember the pious. So you can see what stage they're in now. Right? من الصور إلى التماثيل. من الصور إلى التماثيل. Who can translate this for us? From pictures of portraits to the sculptures. Anyone else?
From pictures to statues.
To statues.
The statues, right? Statues or what was the other one you said? Sculptures, right?
I'm sure we'll get to it in the next chapter, but what's the difference between Tamathil and Asnam?
The difference is cost. You see the difference between a timthal and a sanam is the reason for which you make it. The difference between a timthal and a sanam is the reason for which you make it. You make a timthal for ta'zeem, right? For reverence. And you make a sanam for ibadah. You understand? It could very well be the same thing. You understand? When you make a statue for reverence. But when you make an idol, you make an idol for worship. And so when people come in front of a statue, then they are reminded about the influence of this person. But when they come in front of an idol, they submit themselves to that. No, so this is the difference between a timthal and a sanam. Wallahu a'lam. So you can see the levels.
Isn't there a reference here from the progression from statue to idol?
Yes, that's what we're getting to. That it started as suwar. And that's why I pointed out this point of, you can see there's a separation still between the object and the what it represents. Now, so the picture over here, you can see that it's not intended in and of itself. Their primary intent is not the picture. Their primary intent is what the picture represents, right? And the same thing will be says in Tamathil. So let's see. Let us read this whole.
This refers to pictures that people mounted homes, for instance.
Yeah, portraits. Portraits.
People or special people.
Portraits. Yeah.
Leaders and so on.
Yes, it's exactly that. It's portraits, right? So I don't know if these portraits, if everybody had a portrait, or there was one portrait or a few portraits, and everybody would go to that place. It could be either this or that or both, right? There could be large portraits that they did as a community, and then smaller ones that people did in their house. Like that, yeah, it's all possible.
Referring to the fact that people nowadays have in their homes such portraits on the walls.
Yeah. And obviously, we know.
What is the Islamic point of view about mounting these in the house?
No, these are clearly prescribed by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I mean, the hadith about this are very, very clear. The hadith about pictures, and the malaika not entering the homes, all of those hadith are clear and they're well known to people, right? So there's really no escape from those realities in the way I see it. One can obviously go and attempt to look at something like what they call the illa, the ratio legis, or the legal intent behind the Prophet ﷺ saying this. But at best, the hadith are quite clear in terms of what they literally stand for. That these hanging of portraits and the like are considered to be un-Islamic. Allah knows best. وانتقلوا من الصور إلى التماثيل. وانتقلوا من الصور إلى. Obviously, we're not taking this from the book, right? We're not studying this book to study the rulings of portraits and all of that. These are thoughts in passing. Our intent over here is to improve our usage, understanding, and reading of the Arabic language. وانتقلوا من الصور إلى التماثيل. We'll translate this for us. They passed from images to statues. Anyone else? They moved. No. Right. Remember, we came across this word intiqal. Right. So intaqala means الذهاب من الشيء إلى الشيء. To go from one thing to another. That's what you call intiqal. Right. That's why they say they refer to the moving between positions in salah. They refer to it as intiqalat. They refer to it as intiqalat. So وانتقلوا من الصور إلى التماثيل. They moved from pictures to statues. وعملوا للصالحين تماثيل كثيرة ووضعوها في بيوتهم وفي مساجدهم. وعملوا للصالحين أي وصنعوا أو وجعلوا للصالحين تماثيل كثيرة ووضعوها في بيوتهم وفي مساجدهم. Anyone translate this for us?
And they converted the pious people into idols in a great deal, for a lot of them. And they hung these in their homes and in their masajid.
So he says he converted the pious people into statues, many of them, and they hung these in their homes and in their masajid. Anyone else? And they made for the pious ones many statues, and they placed them in their homes and in their masajid, in the places of worship. All right, all same meanings. So وعملوا, and they made للصالحين, for the pious. They made for the pious تماثيل كثيرة. They made many statues for the pious, meaning of the pious. ووضعوها, and they placed them في بيوتهم, in their homes, وفي مساجدهم, and in their masajid, in the places of worship. وكانوا يعبدون الله لا يشركون به شيئا. Easy one. Anyone from the online?
Alaikum
salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And they used to worship Allah and did not associate partners with anything.
And they used to worship Allah and did not associate partners with anything. With him, anything. All right. So meaning they did not associate any partners with Allah. All right. وَكَانُوا يَعْبُدُونَ اللَّهَ. and they used to worship Allah, لا يشركون, not ascribing bihi, to him, shay'an, anything, not ascribing anything to him of partners. وكانوا يعرفون أن هذه تماثيل للصالحين. وكانوا يعرفون أن هذه تماثيل للصالحين. نعم. Yes, on the side. And they would know that these are the statues of the pious. Say, yeah. And they knew that these were statues of the pious. So here you can still see there's a separation, the cost, the intent behind these statues. You can see it's still very clear. There's a clear separation between the statues and what they represent. وأن, I think it should be وأن, right? وأن هذه حجارة لا تنفعهم ولا تضرهم ولا ترزقهم ولكن. نعم. Let's translate that part first. وأن هذه حجارة لا تنفعهم ولا تضرهم ولا ترزقهم. Subhanallah. Look, remember when we were in Man kasar al-asnam, right? So here we see the same wording coming through. That which Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam were questioning his people about that time, at this time they knew that, right? Over there you have to ask it. So yeah, it's coming back. So how do we translate these lines? And that these stones, and that these are stones. If it was these stones, it would have added al wa anna hadhihi al-hijara. But over here it's wa anna hadhihi hijaratun. And that these are stones, la tanfa'uhum, do not benefit them, wa la tadurruhum, and do not harm them, wa la tarzuquhum, and do not sustain them or provide them with sustenance. ولكنهم كانوا يتبركون بها ويعظمونها لأنها تماثيل للصالحين. Yes. We'll translate this. ولكنهم, however they كانوا, they used to يتبركون بها. They used to seek blessings with it. وَيُعَظِّمُونَهَا, honor it, or show respect. Excellent. لِأَنَّهَا أَتَمَاثِيلُ لِلصَّالِحِينَ. Because it was, or they were statues of the pious. وكثرت هذه التماثيل فيهم. وكثرت هذه التماثيل فيهم وكثر تعظيمها. Yes. And these sculptures increased. Okay, so the word here is not increased. Increase means zada. Zada means to increase. Kathura means to be many. Means to. So zada means to increase. Right? Tada'afa means to multiply. Kathura means to be many. So you say, so what's the difference? You use the word zada when you want to show like an increase. You want to show that there were this many, but this is increasing amongst them. And you want to say, if you want to emphasize that even more, you will say tada'afa, right? But if you want to speak about the number being many descriptively, then you say kathura. You understand that? If you want to describe how many there are in number, you say there were many. They were many. So kathura means to be many. Zada means to increase. Tada'afa means to multiply. So kathura over here is, look, it need not be that technical, but yes. You can even say like found in plentitude. If you wanted to understand what kathura really means, then you say that وَكَثُرَتْ هَذِهِ تَمَاثِيلُ فِيهِمْ, and these statues were found in plentitude among them. There were found to be many. There were many. And there were lots of these statues amongst them. Yes, you were saying? وَكَثُرَ تَعْظِيمُهَا. Respect grew. Increased. Yes, and there was a lot of honor for them as well, right? So now you could understand kathra over here is increase, to translate it like better in English. But I would also say, like, I would say وكثرت هذه التماثيل فيهم وكثر تعظيمها. And these statues were found to be plenty amongst them, and the reverence therefore was much. And the reverence therefore was much. Kathura, to be a lot. But if you were translating this book and you wanted to be true to what the author was saying, then you would really, like, you would tire yourself in finding a way to say this. That is because somebody's going to come afterwards and they're going to say, but he used this word kathura, right? And for interest's sake, let's see what the answer says to us over here about this kathura. To outnumber. Okay, that's probably one of its meanings. You see, kathara, exceeding number, to be much, many, or numerous. To be more is only when you say an. Or you understand, you must use it in junction with a. So to happen frequently, to occur often, here they have to increase, right? To augment, to multiply, to grow, right? But in the usage of the Arabic language, you won't use kathura for growth. You won't use kathura for growth, right? You will say kathara, right? You will say zada, you will say tada'afa. A less common usage of the word kathura. But anyways, وإذا مات فيهم رجال وإذا مات فيهم رجل صالح وإذا مات فيهم رجل صالح عملوا له تمثالا وسموه باسمه. Yes. Tell us this one. And when a pious man amongst them died, they and they named it by his name. Now, so, and when a pious man, so here you see rajulun, and when a pious man amongst them died, عملوا له تمثالا, they made for him a statue, وسموه باسمه, and they named the statue with his name. Right? So I think we'll stop there. And then you do the next two, inshallah, for more. So yeah, you can see the progression, and one might think, we're very far away from this, and maybe we shouldn't be so strict on pictures and or portraits and statues, and because that was the other time, and we understand historically that that's silly. No? And many a times in our, as you are going to see over here, what happens is that this understanding gets lost. The understanding of the intent behind cultural practices get lost. And when those understandings get lost, that is when people start to make something of the religion that is not, right? And there are a few such issues that exist in every society. Every society has something that it's really a cultural expression, perhaps of love, right? Perhaps of devotion, perhaps of reverence, perhaps of respect. But that respect can only be held in that expression by the people who expressed it in that way, right? That's why you have love languages, and this is a very common topic. Everybody knows about it. So what happens is that these people, their love language is to make pictures. Now they make these pictures. Now somebody else must come along and they must, now this love, this expression of love, what is its ruling? Mubah, right? It's morally neutral. It's legally neutral. Neither is there a prescription of it, nor is there a prescription of it. So neither is it spoken against, nor is it instituted within the religion. So now what happens is that the person, they express their let us say that they express like a positive allegiance to the religion through this act. But this is an individual expression, which is mubah, and it can become mustahab, it can become good if there's no ruling against it. Can become good if there's no ruling against it. Not in and of itself, but in as much as it is an expression of love, right? The problem comes when this thing is taken and it's made widespread. Now it exists in the society, but what happens is that that expression of love is it's restricted to a certain group of people. Somebody else might come and they might want to express love in a different way. They might want to express love in a different way. But now, when does this thing become problematic? It becomes problematic when there's a societal pressure to express love in this way, when that expression in and of itself was neutral. It wasn't instituted, neither was it against. Now, that expression, because of the societal pressure that exists around it, it becomes problematic. Why? Because now you are attaching a religious value to something, you are attaching wholesale religious value to something that had relative religious value. You could also say you are attaching definitive religious value to something that had speculative religious value, right? So this is the problem with these type of things. This is the problem with these type of things. So somebody might come today and they might say, look, we can take pictures and we can, it doesn't mean the same thing. But the deen is not about yourself and myself. There is a sense of collective preservation that forces us to be wary about this. And the companions were the first to be wary about this. When they wanted to gather the Quran, imagine they wanted to gather the Quran. There was debate about it. There was a lot of debate. Today we have the Mus'haf. Before they could make the Mus'haf, there was a lot of debate. Many of the senior companions were against it. Umar radiallahu anhu was against it. Many of the companions from the leading Qurra were against it. Those whom Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu went to speak to them about it, and they were the leading Qurra, they were against it. Right? So the speculativeness, or the speculation, or the nervousness, right, that we have around like maslahi things, you can say, things that are morally neutral, and to institutionalize it, that nervousness is a positive nervousness that must exist amongst the people. It must exist amongst the people, right? So this is one of the great ibar over here. And this whole discussion, I don't want to use the word, but this whole discussion is the discussion about bid'ah, right? About innovation. That's the whole discussion about innovation. And the idea is that we have to be wary about it, not for ourselves, but for future generations. We can understand these things, and you might institute it, and you might think that it's good now. But the problem is not when people do it. The problem is the sentiment with which people do it. You understand? This is al-inkaru ala man lam yaf'al. To now start to look down on somebody who's not doing that. that individual expression of love. The same thing happens when you going and you're making Salatul Layl every night in the masjid. And now whoever's not coming for Salatul Layl, you're posting videos on social media. No, you know what is wrong with the Muslims today? They don't come for Salatul Layl. Now that act was meritorious. It wasn't even mubah. It wasn't even neutral, right? But the sentiment that you make around it becomes bid'ah, right? Like that's why the companions, when they came to the Prophet ﷺ, then they said, "What? I'm going to fast every day." Everyone can hear me still, right? I'm going to fast every day. And the other one says, I'm going to stand the whole night. I'm not going to sleep. And the other one says, I'm not going to get married. And the Prophet ﷺ says, I eat, I sleep, and I marry women. وَهَذَا مِن سُنَّتِي وَمَنْ رَغِبَ عَنْ سُنَّتِي فَلَيْسَ مِنِّي. That's from my way. Whoever goes away from my way, they're not from me. Meaning what? What's the opposite understanding? The opposite understanding, I think it's a battery. They can still hear. The opposite understanding is what? The opposite understanding is that this committing, this overcommitting of oneself, right? And making necessary upon oneself something that is not necessary, that's not from the religion. That's actually extremism. All right. Now, there would be nothing wrong. There would be nothing wrong if there would be nothing wrong if somebody actually didn't get married and somebody actually fasted every day. Okay, not every day. Sawmud dahr is haram. Say every day, save one day in the year. And they stand the whole night in prayer every night. There would be nothing wrong if a person did this. What's the problem? The problem is the sentiment that they've attached to it. The problem is not the act in and of itself. The problem is the sentiment with which they are approaching ibadah. That's not the sentiment with which you approach it, right? So this is the important thing that people, oftentimes it's difficult for them to understand around these issues that some people might scream bid'ah, not bid'ah. The important thing is many times it's not to zoom into the act. The act most times is legislated, or at best it's mubah, right? You can almost find no bid'ah that people consider bid'ah, except that it's at some point it's at least morally neutral. But the problem is the value that they attach to something. And something can only be attached to religious value textually, or because of like an understanding that comes from a text. Nonetheless, these are from the benefits of reading these stories. So the protection of the deen also has got to do with this. A big protection of the deen is to remain wary of this. And there are many issues that they become unnecessary cause for strife within communities, just because people are hardcore. Realistically speaking, people are hardcore, right? And we have to like save ourselves from being those hardcore people. Muhammad always says we must like live and let live. We must live and let live, and just allow. And even this whole thing of calling out bid'ah, as I'm speaking against it, that's also problematic. The whole idea of coming out and like there's in the modern world, there's an obsession with canceling people. There's an obsession with calling people out, a great obsession. Many people and labeling. Many people spend a lot of time doing this. And a lot of people, they study just so they can know how to label people. And so they can know what mistakes people are making. So they don't study positively. They don't study to help. They study to point out faults. Many people do this, right? You might not know them, but they exist, right? They exist. And Allah makes it apparent from there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it apparent from their actions. Now, khair. Let us continue reading Surah. Which surah are we reading?